Good morning, dear students. I welcome you to this new chapter. Here, in this chapter, the name of this chapter is Force and Laws of Motion. In the previous chapter, we discussed about different types of forces and how do we represent these relation of velocity, displacement, acceleration, and all that in different graphs. So in this chapter 9, we will talk about or we will learn about the force and laws of motion. There are certain laws of motion which are related to force. With respect to the forces, scientists have discovered some of the laws. So what are those laws we are going to cover in this chapter? So there are three laws of motion: first law, second law, and third law. So basically this chapter deals with the three laws of motion, and the main crux of this chapter rotate around these three laws. So let us start this chapter without having any delay. So this is the introduction of this chapter. What causes the motion? So in this chapter, first we discuss what is the reason behind the motion. So earlier we saw that when a force is applied to a body, the body will acquire certain velocity and start moving. Now in this chapter we will discuss when the force is applied, why the body moves, why does the speed of the object changes with time. Okay, as you know that whenever you throw something, suppose this is a playground, now this is a ball. When you kick the ball, after certain time, the ball comes to rest position. Okay, so when you kick the ball, just at the time when you kick the ball, suppose its velocity is v, after certain time its velocity becomes 0. So what is the reason behind this, that the velocity of the ball decrease from this v to 0? Do more, all motion require a cause? If so, what is the nature of this cause? Whenever there is a motion, will there be a cause? If all the motion require a cause, then what is the nature of this cause? About these three questions we are going to discuss broadly. Okay. So now let us start our discussion. So here the first topic under this chapter is concept of force. What is the force? So here, whatever you do in your day-to-day life, it always deals with force. In the morning we wake up, first thing you do is you brush your teeth. Okay, so for that you need to apply force to the toothbrush so that it can move inside your mouth. Then you wash your face. Okay, so then whatever you do in your life, walking, eating, suppose you want to eat your favorite food, so how will you eat it? You pick it in your hand. That means whenever you are picking something, you will apply certain force and take it to your mouth so that you will be able to eat it. So these are some of the examples of force. Now, this boy is pushing the trolley in the forward direction. The trolley is not going to move on its own in any direction unless it is being pushed. Now the boy is pushing the force. So what is push? Push is nothing but the example of force. This girl, she is hitting the ball with the help of this hockey stick. So as soon as the girl hits the ball start moving in this direction. So this is the another example of force that is hit. Now someone is pulling the drawer, someone pulls the drawer in this direction so that the drawer is being pulled in this direction and the drawer moves in this direction. So this is another example of force. So basically the force means pull, push or hit. In general, force is nothing but a push or a pull. So this is called force. Pushing, hitting and pulling of objects are all ways of bringing object in motion. So earlier the trolley was at rest position. When the boy pushes the trolley start moving. The boy pushing the trolley start moving. That means the boy is applying certain amount of force to the trolley. Earlier the drawer was at rest position. When someone pulls it, it starts moving. start changes position. When the girl hits the ball starts moving in this direction, in the forward direction. So all these are examples of application of forces. Okay. Now suppose you play, I'll give you some other example. I'll give you some other example of the force. Now suppose you are playing carom. Okay. Now this is the striker. When you apply certain force on the striker, what happens? The striker moves in this direction. Earlier the striker was at rest position. So when you apply certain amount of force to the striker, striker moves in this direction. So striker moves. That means you are pushing the striker to move in this direction. This is one of the example of force. So any activity that involves either pushing or pulling or hitting or striking, whatever it is, when there is a physical interaction between two different bodies, it deals with force. So this is the concept of force. Okay. Now a force can be used to change the magnitude of velocity of an object, that is to make the object move faster or slower, or to change the direction of motion. This point is very important. Now let us try to understand this point. So what is written here? A force. That means we have a force. Suppose we have F force. Okay. Now this F force can be used for what purposes? Change the magnitude of velocity. Magnitude of velocity means, suppose this is a body. Okay. Now this body is moving in this direction. This mass is moving in this direction. As this mass is moving in this direction, it must have been moving with certain velocity. Okay. Now if you apply the force on the body which is moving, the velocity of the body will change. How the velocity of the body will change? It may increase or it may decrease. Let me give you one example of this one. Okay. Now suppose you have a football. One of your friend kicks the football lightly. Now the football is moving slowly, it is just rolling on the plane. Again you come running and kick the football very hard. Then what will happen? The ball start moving with very high velocity, very high speed. Okay. So in this case, the ball was already moving with certain speed. You have added some amount of force. Now the velocity of the ball increases. Okay. So here the force is applied to change the magnitude of velocity. That means to increase the magnitude of velocity. What is magnitude? Magnitude is a value. Suppose we say 5 meter per second. Velocity of the body is 5 meter per second. Here you can see the 5 is a number. So this number is magnitude. Magnitude is nothing but a number. Okay. Of an object. Now on the other hand, suppose we take the same example. Suppose this ball, you can see this ball is moving in this direction. Okay, it is moving. Now if you try to stop it, then what will happen? You will apply force in this direction. That means you try to catch it in this direction. So to increase the velocity of the ball, you will apply force in the same direction in which it was moving. This direction the ball was moving. If you try to increase its velocity, that means increase its magnitude, you'll apply force in the same direction. If you want to decrease its velocity, that means to make it stop or to reduce its velocity, you'll apply a force with the ball to the ball in the opposite direction, so that the speed of the ball will decrease. Okay. Then that is to make the body move faster or slower, or to change its direction. This is another case. Here we saw that how is that to increase the velocity of the body, we need to apply force in the direction of motion of the body. Direction of motion means the direction in which the ball is moving. To decrease the velocity of the body, we need to apply certain force on the opposite direction of the motion of the body. Now to change a direction, so suppose this is a football ground. Okay, now this is the goal. Okay, let me draw this much diagram here. So this is the goal post. Okay, now this is the football. Your job is to enter the football in this direction. Okay, your job is to move this ball in this direction so that you can score a goal. Okay, now suppose one of the player is standing here, another player is standing here. This player passed the football to the second player. Now this football is moving in this direction. When the second player kicks the football in this direction, now the football start moving in this direction so that it will score a goal. Now this is first player, this is second player. First player kicks the ball in this direction. Now the ball is moving in this direction. When the second player apply force, the direction of the ball is changed. Now the ball was moving initially in this direction. When a force is applied, the ball start moving in this direction. Now these are two different directions. So as the force is applied on a body, the direction of motion of the body can also be changed. So force can be used in three ways: either to increase the velocity of the body, or to decrease the velocity of the body, or to change the direction in which the body is moving, change the direction of motion. Okay, now next point, a force can change the shape and size of object. When you apply force to different objects, the shape and size can be changed. For example, this is a spring. Okay, when you pull the spring, the spring the length of the spring is increased. Okay, now see, this is the original shape of the spring. This one, this is the shape when force is applied. You can see the difference between the two. These two are same spring. Only because some force is applied, its shape is changed and also size is changed. Size is changed. Now the force we are talking about, this force, the force which are moving away from each other, this kind of force is known as tensile force. Like we are pulling something. This kind of force where they are approaching each other, they are known as compressive force. Tensile force, will apply it like this. You are trying to increase length of a certain object. Compressive force, you are pushing an object. Another type of force is known as shear force. Shear force, you are trying to bend an object. For example, this is a stick. For example, this is a stick. You are trying to bend the stick. When you try to bend the stick, so here you'll hold the stick here and you try to bend the stick. Okay, so in this case the stick is neither elongated, that means its uh, length will neither increase or decrease, it will only bend. Suppose you have a rubber, this is a piece of rubber. If you pull the rubber in this direction, its length will increase, so that is the case of tensile force. If you push the rubber in this direction, the length of the rubber will decrease, that is the case of compressive force. Now if you keep the rubber in one point and you try to bend it in another point, or if you try to bend the rubber like this, so this is the case of shear force. Okay. About this tensile, compressive, and shear force, you will study deep in standard 11. Okay. So let us continue this one. So the force that we are talking about, it can be categorized into two types. One is balanced force, one is unbalanced force. This is very, very important. So you should try to understand this one. Okay, now see what is a balanced force. To understand this one, first we need to understand what is the meaning of balance. Okay. A body is at balance state or a body is in balance state. What is the meaning of that? Okay. This is a table. On the table, the book is there. That means the book is in the balance condition. It is not moving in its own. Now suppose this is a rope. Here, with this rope, I will tie this rope with a mouse. Okay. Or with this is a mouse. I am going to take a rope and tie this rope with this book and the mouse. Now this mouse is trying to move here and there. It is trying to move away from this table. Now, will the mouse be able to pull the book? No, he is not going to able to. Okay. So certain amount of force is being applied by the mouse to the book. Still the book is in balanced condition. So in that case, this kind of force is known as balanced force. Let me give you some more example. Suppose this is a truck. Someone is trying to push this truck in this direction. The truck is not moving. So this person is applying certain amount of force to the truck. Even if this force is applied on the truck is not moving. So because this truck is in balanced state, balanced condition, even after the application of force, this force is known as balanced force. Okay. Now another person comes. These two persons are together trying to push the truck. Another person is again applying F amount of force, or suppose this is F1, this is F2. Even if the two forces are acting together to move the truck, still the truck is not moving. So that means here the both these forces, okay, both the forces. Now what is the force? Now F1 plus F2. Earlier only the F1 force is applied. Now F1 and plus F2, this much force is applied. Even after application of this amount of force, still the boss is or still the truck is not moving. So still the truck is in balanced condition. So this force is known as balanced force. Now if we keep on increase the amount of the force, a point will come where the truck starts its motion. So due to the application of force, if truck starts its motion, that means it is unbalanced now. Earlier it was in balanced state. Now from balanced state, that means from rest, it has started its motion. It is becoming unbalanced. So the force for which the state of the motion will change, that force is known as unbalanced force. The force for which the state of the motion does not change, that force is known as balanced force. Okay. So I hope you understand this difference between this balanced and unbalanced force. So now let us continue. What is friction? What is the meaning of it? Now, friction force arises between two surfaces in contact. Whenever there is a surface in contact, friction comes into picture. Now, what is the meaning of this friction? Let us try to understand. If you observe any surface closely, minutely, suppose this is a surface. The surface is not perfectly plane. From microscopic point of view, if you want to see it, if you will see it in, if you zoom the surface like 50x or 60x or 100x 100 times, then you will see that the surface is not perfectly smooth. It is like this. in a zigzag way it is arranged. Now whenever there is a contact between two different surfaces, these two surfaces will interlock each other. Okay, these two surfaces will interlock each other. Now to move this surface, if we apply balanced force, earlier we talked about balanced force, that if balanced force is applied, the body will not change its position. If balanced force is applied, due to the interlocking pattern, it resists the balanced force. That is why the body is not moving in the forward direction. Compare that, suppose you have a floor, or you have something, suppose you this is your floor. Now suppose this is a box. Okay, now you cannot push this box if its mass is very high. Now suppose there are four wheels in the four corner of the box. Now you are able to push it. Why? Because if we use four wheels here, suppose here wheel 1, wheel 2, wheel 3 and wheel 4. Earlier the without earlier when wheel were not used, this is the area of contact. So when area of contact is more, this area of the zigzag pattern will also more. To overcome this one, you have to apply more force. When you attach wheel, so the area of contact becomes very less. So the force applied by you is high enough to move the body in the direction. Okay, so this is the concept of force. Now the balanced force is going to be resisted by this interlocking pattern. Okay, so that resistance is known as frictional force. Frictional force means you are applying certain amount of force to a body. Even after application of this force, the body is not moving. That means the body is resisted by, that means the force which you have applied is being resisted. That resistance force is known as friction force. That means, see here force is a vector quantity. You have applied, let me clear the screen first. So force is a vector quantity. You have applied certain amount of force in this direction. Even after application of this certain amount of force, the body is not moving. That means there is some another force which is same in magnitude but opposite in direction will cancel the applied force. Now this force is known as friction force. Now why this friction force is coming into picture? Because of the interlocking pattern of the different surfaces. Okay, because of the interlocking pattern. It friction force not only depends upon these interlocks. This is one of the factor. It depends upon much more factors about which you will discuss, you will learn in higher classes. But this is the main factor. Okay. Now consider this example. This is a table. This is a box on the ground. This girl and the boy, both of them are trying to push it. So even if they are pushing the ball, pushing this box, they are not been able to move it. That means the force which is applied by this boy and girl, this force is the balanced force. About balanced force we talked earlier, that if balanced force is applied, then the position of the body will not change. So this is the force which is applied by the boy and the girl. This is the friction force. Due to the interlocking pattern, it develops within itself. Now this force, suppose we consider this one positive, it will be negative. Plus minus will cancel each other and the resultant becomes 0. So even after certain amount of force is applied by these two person, the box is not moving. Now here what happens? They try very hard to move the box. This boy and girl, earlier they were pushing gently. Now they are trying hard to move this box in this direction. Still this box is not moving. That means the force which is applied by this boy and girl is resisted by the frictional force. The force which is applied by them is not high enough to move this body. So these two will cancel out with each other. Now they are pushing it very, very, very hard. So in this case, they are able to push this box in this direction because frictional force has its maximum value. Okay, it cannot be infinity. Why it cannot be infinity? Because the area of contact has its limiting value. As friction force depends upon this area of contact, which is nothing but the interlocking pattern, it has its maximum value. So if suppose here the in this case the value is 10. Earlier this force which is applied by these two boy and girl is 2. So 2 is less than 10, that is why it was not moving. Now suppose this is 8. 8 is less than 10, that is why it is not moving. Now they apply a force of suppose 15 Newton. 15 Newton force is applied in this direction. 10 Newton force is the friction force in this direction. So as 15 is more than 10, 15 minus 10 is 5. So in this case, the box will start move in this direction. So it balances the pushing force and therefore box does not move in these two cases. If the children push the box harder, still pushing force becomes bigger than the frictional force. There is an unbalanced force, so the box start moving in this case. Thus, to accelerate the motion of an object, an unbalanced force is required. Okay, so if you apply balanced force to a body, the body is not going to move. If you apply unbalanced force to a body, the body will start moving. Okay, so this is all about today's class. In the next class, we'll continue this chapter. Okay, so if you have any doubt, you can comment in the comment section. So thank you and have a nice day.